Jumbo Espresso Talk Today community. Aquaba to the Espresso Talk Today podcast show. Welcome to the Espresso Talk Today show. I'm Amma Robin, host of today's great and groundbreaking show. Thank you so much, Asante Sana, for joining us today for part 2 of this uncommon conversation with Dr. Clyde Yancy. You might remember Dr. Yancy. He's an amazing cardiologist, researcher, and scholar. I'm going to tell you more about him in just a minute. But if you did not listen to the first part of this conversation with Dr. Yancy, I strongly encourage you to listen to it. Go back and listen to it. Stay with us today, but please go back and listen to part 1. There is so much to learn. I promise you will not be disappointed. Dr. Yancy discussed several important issues, like risk factors for cardiovascular disease. He also discussed 4 important symptoms that you should never, ever ignore. You know, these are so important that I'm just going to tell them to you right now. Persistent cough, unusual fatigue, shortness of breath, and swollen ankles. Dr. Yancy also discussed the importance of preemptive care and that most Black people don't receive this kind of care. Preemptive care can actually prevent the onset of disease. He discussed all of this and so much more last week, so please go back and listen to the show. And remember, persistent cough, unusual fatigue, shortness of breath, and swollen ankles, that should take you to the doctor immediately. As you can see, Dr. Yancy brings a wide range of knowledge and experience to this conversation about cardiology and how to promote heart wellness. So we tapped into as much of that knowledge and experience as time permitted. We really did. Okay, Mel's going to arrive in just a minute. Then we're going to get started. But while we wait for Mel, let me just tell you a bit about Dr. Clyde Yancy. Dr. Yancy is a cardiologist and professor of cardiology and medical social sciences at Northwestern University's Feinberg School of Medicine. He's also the Vice Dean of Diversity and Inclusion at Feinberg School of Medicine. Dr. Yancy has previously served as president of the American Heart Association and remains its national spokesman. He's board certified in both internal medicine and cardiovascular disease and is a member of the Association of Black Cardiologists. Dr. Yancy's research focuses on heart failure, heart transplantation, and ways to prevent heart failure. Okay, I did a little extra digging, a little extra research, and I found that his patients describe him as brilliant, compassionate, an excellent listener, and an incredible human being. I wasn't at all surprised because he showed these important qualities in our discussions with him, and we're privileged to have him join us on our show. Today's show focuses on the essential 8 steps for heart health. Dr. Yancy told us last week that 80% of cardiovascular disease is preventable. 80% is preventable. That's huge. And there are 8 steps that everyone can take to prevent 80% of heart disease. These are what are known as the Essential 8. And we're glad that you're here with us today to learn these important steps. Okay, I'm going to stop here. You can hear all about that for yourself. Mel has just arrived. So sit back, relax, grab an espresso or a cup of tea if that's your preference, and let's get started with today's show. Already in progress.
Well, what can a person do? I mean, are we supposed to monitor our bodies in the sense that we recognize these symptoms that you're talking about or these issues of inability to do this, to walk distances, things like you were talking about.
So,
Oh,
Mel, this is great. You've just given me the segue that I hoped you would give us.
okay.
Because anyone listening to this, and I'm delighted that you've got a legacy now, you have an audience and they're engaged with these kinds of deeper conversations. So, for the listeners, I'm speaking to you. These are the steps that you can take of your own volition to preserve your health.
Okay.
Don't smoke. Be physically active. I'm not suggesting you have to join a gym or buy spandex. Just be physically active. Walking in particular, very important. Know your weight and make certain your weight is appropriate for your height. Not everybody needs to weigh the same, but let me just be very clear. Any woman less than 200 pounds or more, you are obese. There is no height other than about 6 foot 8 inches, which allows 200 pounds to be a normal weight for a woman. You are obese, medical obesity. I'm sure you're very attractive, but you are obese and you need to think about losing your weight and then follow a heart healthy diet. Don't think about the no's in your diet. Think about the yeses. Enjoy fruits, enjoy vegetables, enjoy lean red meat, enjoy fish, enjoy chicken. If it is your preference to opt for a plant-based diet, please do so. That's very healthy. If it's your preference to be a vegetarian, please do so. Think about the healthy fats. Think about olive oil. Think about nuts. Think about beans. Listen to the way that I position this. Think about the yeses, not the nos. So you start with those four behaviors, if you will, not smoking, being physically active, knowing your weight, right sizing your weight, and then following a heart healthy diet. Now, what about other markers about which you should be aware? Know your blood pressure, know your blood sugar, know your blood cholesterol level. Let me be incredibly clear in this. I am confident that everyone listening, I'm still talking to the listeners, knows your cell phone number without any hesitation. You can recite it in 3 seconds. Can you do the same thing? You do the same thing for your cholesterol. Can you do the same thing for your blood sugar? You should be able to do that. You should have that kind of self-awareness. Socially, we talk about self-awareness all the time. That's all good. But the real self-awareness you need to have are your measures of health. So I've given you 7 things so far. I've given you 4 behaviors: smoking, activity, weight, and diet. And I've given you 3 markers: blood pressure, cholesterol, blood sugar. But here's the critical next variable: sleep. It's so incredibly important. Your body recuperates when you sleep, particularly if you get into what's called slow wave sleep. Your body is restored. It improves your cognitive function, your level of alertness. It actually helps you with your weight management. It improves your metabolism. So I've just given every listener 8 steps towards better health. I'm a national spokesperson for the American Heart Association and a former president of the American Heart Association 11 years ago. But this is what we call the essential 8. If you embrace the essential 8, the closer you get to all 8, the more likely you are to avoid cardiovascular disease, the more likely you are to avoid certain cancers, the more likely you are to live a longer, happier, healthier life. Who don't want to sign up for that? 8 things. Don't smoke, be active, know your weight, have a good diet, know your blood pressure, your cholesterol, your blood sugar, and get some sleep, folks. That's it. Now, if we transition from that, Mel, I wanted to be certain, and thank you again for the segue, that we were able to articulate to the entire listening audience what's necessary for you to embrace health. And that has no bearing on race or sex or gender or ethnicity. That's just the truth for the human soul. Okay. But if we're talking about any cardiovascular condition, pay attention to how you feel. If you're beginning to vary from a sense of wellness, maybe it's your blood pressure, maybe it's heart failure, I hope it's not. Maybe it's atherosclerosis, I hope it's not. But don't hesitate to speak up, to check. Pay attention to your family history. What did your grandparents have? Did they experience heart disease? Do your parents have heart disease? If you've got siblings, talk to each other. Hey, what's your blood pressure doing? Anyone ever talk to you about heart disease? If you find that there's a history in your family of strokes or heart attacks, don't think you're the lucky one. Be proactive. Step up and say, I want to know. And that first step is painless. It's checking the blood pressures, checking the cholesterol, it's checking your weight. That's the thing to do. And one last thing about weight, I know that our time is getting short. Everybody wants to know what's the right diet? What's the magic pill? What's the secret? There's one secret. It's one secret. Now, Robin and Mel, I want you to lean in a little bit
I
so I
am.
can tell you the secret. There's only one secret. It's portion control. Think about what you eat now, whatever you eat right now. Are you able to eat maybe only 80% of this? I'm going to make both of you smile. It's nice that I can see you and get your feedback. There's this phenomenon in the world called the blue zones. And what's characteristic about the blue zones, there's 5 communities in the world, 5. They're the blue zones. What's characteristic about those communities is that people typically live into their 90s, even into their hundreds. So what are they doing in those 5 communities that's not happening in the rest of the world? They have these wonderful commonalities without even talking to each other. They just kind of happen upon it. But their diets are calorie restricted. They are physically active. But they do one other thing that I think is really impressive. They follow the 80% rule. They only eat to 80% satiety. They're never that Thanksgiving Day full. And you know what I'm talking about now.
Yeah,
They're never that Thanksgiving Day full.
yeah.
They eat to 80% of their satiety, meaning feeling full. But there are 2 other things they do that I think are so precious. And I do mean to use that word precious. They're in social networks where they have the spirit of being able to collaborate, having a knowingness of others. It could be friends, it could be family. And they're able to understand their value in life. So if you have a sense that your life is valuable to somebody else because of who you are, what you do, and you're in a network of people that are supportive, those are secrets to longevity. And you do everything else we talked about, you'll live a good life and the world will be a better place.
But suppose someone in our audience or others, many in our audience have already have these issues. They're already overweight. They, uh, are not sleeping correctly and all these. Is it possible to reverse that and get back on a good plane?
Mel, I don't know how you've done this, but somehow or another you've immersed yourself into my reference library, my email inbox, or my whole assortment of prior presentations that are all evidence-based, by the way. The data are this: regardless of your current age or burden of risk, thinking about obesity, diabetes, hypertension, there is no point in time where you can't change your health. You can always change your health and reap a benefit from it. So if that stuff's already embedded, that's your reality, fine. But you can make an effort beginning this day going forward to lose the weight, to stop smoking, to control your blood pressure. For every kilogram of weight loss, that's 2.2 pounds, Mel, your blood pressure goes down by a point.
Okay.
Now, if you get 10 kilograms of weight loss, no matter what weight you're starting, your blood pressure goes down by 10 points.
Wow.
That's enough to change your burden of disease. And you do that all on your own by
Mhm.
changing your behavior. And here's another thing, Robin. In the beginning, we talked about the different partitions of what determines disease as a function of race. And I said there's a small amount that might be attributable to your genetics. And self-described Black persons are African Americans, attributable to African ancestry, but everybody has a genetic history. We understand this, that even when you are genetically predisposed to have heart disease, guess what? A heart healthy lifestyle, even in a setting of genetic risk, dramatically lowers your burden of disease.
Mhm.
So it's not a fail complete that because you have a genetic risk, you'll have the disease, but it's a higher bar. It's an imperative to adopt these lifestyle circumstances. So I love that you're thinking about this, Robin, because I hope that I'm giving you some almost disruptive thoughts that you've not had before. And by the way, I got 3 more minutes with you. So what's your
Oh,
question?
Okay. Yeah, there is one thing you didn't mention. I was trying to find that one thing. What about controlling stress? How does that?
Perfect question. Perfect question. We have evidence now that stress is not just some kind of vaporish thing where I feel stressed today. We understand stress is biological. We understand that stress is manifest as a signal of inflammation. To help you understand what inflammation is, if you or I get an insect bite, that
Mhm.
area of redness on your skin around the bite, that area of skin is inflamed. Inflammation in your body is not a good thing. And imagine what happens when the inflammation is systemic throughout your vessels, throughout your cardiovascular system. That has a bearing on disease. So now we're closing with where we started. What is it about a life and living circumstance that predisposes to more disease? What is it about living in a community where there's been disinvestment? What is it when you have housing density that's not ideal? When you don't have good employment opportunities, when you don't have good educational opportunities, don't have good transportation opportunities, don't have free spaces where you can roam and be physically active outdoors in a safe way. All of that, Robin, engenders stress, and that stress becomes manifest as blood vessel thickening, as an increase in blood pressure, as inflammation, which starts a cascade of events that leads to the early onset of disease. And I meant to say early onset. You know why I meant to say that, Robin?
Right.
Because this starts in children.
Hmm.
In children from what
Yes.
age? 10? 10 or 5?
Younger, younger. We
Wow.
call them adverse childhood experiences. And when children experience adverse childhood experiences, single parent home, abuse, when substance abuse, alcoholism, when children are in that environment, each of those singular adverse childhood experiences, we call them ACEs, starts this cascade of stress. And it has a manifestation on their biology. So that by the time they're early aged adults, some of these risk factors are already set in place. This is going to floor you, Robin, but think about the young Black women you might know who are 30-ish.
Mhm.
One third of them already have high blood pressure,
Hmm.
or probably haven't had their blood pressure checked, unless it's been pregnancy related.
Mhm.
At 30, one third. Wow. Oh my goodness. Yeah, there was one other thing too you did bring up about alcoholism. What about alcohol use in general? Any problem?
Oh, I've got to come clean and tell you that I love red wine. And there's not an evening that goes by, including last evening, where I don't have at least a half glass of red wine with my dinner at night, or because I just enjoy it. And I'm hoping that there really is. Modest is probably the correct way to calibrate that. And it's too easy to go past one glass, but
Mm.
that's a softer sort of conversation. If you enjoy wine like I do, there may be a modest health benefit. If you don't drink, don't start drinking just so you can get a modest benefit. Anyway, in the last minute, Mel, it's been so fun engaging with you, and I love how you've been in lockstep with the way I think. So let me give you the final opportunity. What's the one space we haven't covered that you'd like for me to cover?
Well, one of the things I'd like for you to tell our audience is, you know, what would you, of all the things that you talked about, what's the one or two things that you would want them to take away that's really critical and important? And one other thing too, how much sleep is enough sleep?
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
So, for a general audience, I'll say this to really truncate it: do more, be physically active, eat less. Everybody can stand to lose some weight. Know your numbers, your blood pressure in particular, and your hours of sleep at night. For an adult, that's probably 7 hours. Children need more sleep. Older persons typically need more sleep.
Mhm.
But in the big middle, it's probably 7 hours, but no less than 6 hours. Know your numbers and get enough sleep. Yay. So, Robin, I have to go and refill my dark roast.
Okay.
Very much for this opportunity to visit with you.
Yeah, I'm at the end of my tea also.
Yeah, well, I'm probably going to go for a double, but thank you so much, Dr. Yancey. Asante Sana. It's
This is
even
amazing.
easier. Yeah, I'm just floored by so much of this. Yeah. And this has been very, very helpful. Very helpful. Really appreciate it. It's great talking to a doctor. I did want to ask you about the A1C numbers and about cortisol, but you have to go. So I won't do that.
Oh, I can tell you very quickly. You really want an A1C less than 7. If you have diabetes, closer to 6, but not less than 6. Particularly if you achieve that with medical therapists, there may be some risk there. And cortisol probably is one of the mediators of this whole phenomenon of stress. Again, getting from kind of the experiential understanding of stress, I feel stressed out, to the biological expression of stress. Amongst the many mediators, and there are a number that have been identified, cortisol is in that bucket.
Okay. Okay. So know that number then too. And all right.
No, not know that number, know that risk.
At risk.
Understand that when you feel stress, it's not just that you feel stress, it's that your body is stressing. And that process of stressing is elaborated audience that can't relate with that one word, hormones. Well, the hormones do more than control your bodies and have you feel as a woman should feel and have me, because of testosterone, feel as a man should feel. We all are familiar with hormones, but we don't extend that familiarity to a whole nother suite, SUITE, of hormones that impact our health, with cortisol being just one of those. So
Okay.
you got a bonus question in, Robin. I
I
caught that.
did. I appreciate that. I stuck it in.
Doing good.
Yes.
All
And
right.
again,
Listen, I
thank you
really
so
want you
much.
guys to have a wonderful day.
This has
Thank
been
you for
very
the
helpful.
invitation.
Thank you. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Be in
Okay.
touch.
Thank you.
Bye for
Bye-bye.
now.
Bye.
This is the end of our uncommon conversation with Dr. Clyde Yancy. He gave us so much to think about regarding heart health, and he also gave us so much that we can actually do to protect and improve our cardiovascular health. I like that he also gave us hope that many cardiovascular conditions can be improved or possibly even reversed by taking the steps that he discussed. So I say another huge asante sana to Dr. Yancy for his generosity and openness in providing this great information to us. This is life-saving information. It's life-improving information, and we're so grateful that he shared so much of his valuable time and expertise with us. Now, about today's show. 3 words. Wow, wow, and wow. Today's show opened with Dr. Yancy giving us fantastic information. In his own words, he says, I quote, "These are the steps that you can take of your own volition to preserve heart health." I'm sure that you remember that Dr. Yancy is a cardiologist, former president of the American Heart Association, and current national spokesman for the American Heart Association. So if he says that this is what you need to do for heart health, then this is what you need to do for heart health. He also says that these steps can help you to avoid certain cancers, to live longer lives, to live happier lives, and to live healthier lives. This is a win, win, and win situation. Dr. Yancy says that you need to do the 8 essential steps, the essential 8 as he calls them. I'm just going to briefly repeat them now. Number 1, don't smoke. Number 2, be active. Number 3, maintain a healthy weight. Number 4, eat a healthy diet. Number 5, maintain a good blood pressure. Number 6, maintain good cholesterol. Number 7, have the right blood sugar level. And number 8, get enough sleep. That's it. This is what is necessary for good heart health. And some of these, I admit, are a bit more difficult than others. For certain people, not everybody's the same. We all have our challenges, but this just means that we need to work a little bit harder in certain areas, and your health could depend on it. Well, here's a little bit more detail about a few of these steps. Dr. Yancy said, for instance, about being more active. He says you don't have to go out and run marathons or anything like that. But he says walking is a great exercise. Everybody can walk. Well, most people can. But just try to walk a little bit more. About losing weight. Don't do any fad diets or eliminate entire food groups. Eat more fresh fruits and fresh vegetables. And think portion control. Portion control, everyone. Take what's on your plate, then eat only 80% of it. You won't even feel hungry by cutting out the 20% of the food left on your plate. But it will make a difference in helping you to lose weight. Portion control, people. Just give it a try. Dr. Yancy emphasized that there's no point in time when you cannot improve your health and reap a benefit from it. So start now if you need to. Start exercising now. Stop smoking now. Start losing weight and eating a healthy diet now. Start focusing on your blood pressure, cholesterol, or blood sugar now. Start getting enough sleep now. It won't happen overnight. Okay, sorry about that. No pun intended on that one. But when you focus on these steps, these aspects of your health, you will reap a benefit of longer, happier, and healthier lives. Again, win, win, win. And remember, it's not just about you. Remember, help your friends and family to start focusing on these 8 essential steps to heart health. Remember, we discussed in the previous episode to start walking with a friend. Or, for example, ask your brother about his blood pressure, or ask your aunt about her blood sugar, or your father about his cholesterol levels. We can each help each other to work on these 8 essential steps. And remember that Dr. Clancy said, hey, everyone knows the phone number, right? Well, there are 4 other numbers that everyone should know. Their blood pressure numbers, their cholesterol numbers, their blood sugar numbers, and their weight. That'll be a number 2. I repeat, blood pressure, cholesterol, blood sugar, and weight. Know these numbers like you know your phone number. And finally, we can never, ever, ever forget to talk about stress. Especially, as Black people, we deal with a lot of different kinds of stress, in particular, racial stress. Stress, Dr. Yancy said, is a biological function. It appears as inflammation in the body. Now, inflammation is a natural biological response, but rampant inflammation caused by stress can do damage. So, do what you need to do to identify your level of stress and to identify the stressors in your life and what you can do to manage your stress. Exercise is good. Meditation is good. Talking to friends or a therapist, that's all good. But do something to control your stress. Well, so this is the end of our show with Dr. Clyde Yancy. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, Amma Robin, at team@espressotalktoday.com or on Instagram @Espresso Talk Today. I also encourage you to check out the website of the Association of Black Cardiologists. They have great health-related information and a directory so you can find a trusted Black cardiologist in your area. And also, check out the American Heart Association website. They also have great information and a great directory too. You can find information on both of these organizations at the EspressoTalkToday.com website. Again, I want to say a big asante sana to Dr. Clyde Yancy for sharing his valuable time with us to discuss cardiovascular disease and heart health and heart wellness. That's so important. And I say asante sana to Mel for being on the show, and to you, my dear community, for being in the building with me today. Dr. Yancy taught us a lot today. And as Maya Angelou once said, when you know better, you can do better. With this information, we can help ourselves and help each other to do better, to take the steps to live longer, healthier, and happier lives. I'm Alma Robin for the Espresso Talk Today podcast show. And remember, y'all, strength, soul, and reparations. Ashe.